And I was, we were getting ready to leave, and some young man that was a graduate from the University of Michigan come by, and he didn't recognize Greg, because that would have blown his cover. But then he goes, Coach Rod, what are you doing here? I'm doing some TV work with CBS. And so I said, okay, that's great, and moved on. So Greg's cover was good there.
Yes, Stephen Kelly, Fox 11 TV. What did you learn from your Michigan experience, and what types of things are you going to try to change about your style here in this Michigan style?
And that's a fair question. I learned a lot of things, but I think you can learn from when you have success and when you have failure. I think sometimes when you want to turn a blind eye to it and not try to learn, all you're going to do is get worse. So I took 3 years. There were some frustrating times there, but there was also some good things. The most frustration I had was the fact we didn't get a chance to see it through. I thought that at the time when we got there, after the first spring, it would take a little bit more than 3 years, and we'd slowly get better. And I thought year 4 and year 5 would be lights out. But year 4 and year 5, they're doing pretty good. It's frustrating to watch them. I don't mind telling you, because those are all my guys. But I'm proud of them because they're doing so well. Those guys are winning a lot of games. And they'll win a lot of games next year too. But I learned. It wasn't, there were some misconceptions about them that I didn't know the tradition there because I didn't go there, but we embraced it from the start, and it was, but more than anything, you got to have a plan, you got to believe in a plan, you got to have everybody pulling in the right direction, and if you do that, you'll be okay. And if you make a mistake, own up to it and move on, and I think I've learned to do that as well. So I think in all 26 years of coaching, I think I've learned something from every year. And in the past 6 months, I've learned from being out of coaching to being in the media aspect of it, I've learned some things. So I think I'm a better coach today, but I would ask the same thing of my players. I would hope my players would be better as a senior than they are as a freshman. I hope I'm a better coach 4 years from now than I am right now. So that's why if you look at my contract escalates. I get a little bit more every year because Greg expects me to be a better coach every year. And I'm committed to doing that.
Coach Joe Gaylor, ESPN Tucson, 1490, 104.9 FM. I know it's early.
You got your call sign in there.
I got it all the way in there, yeah. I know it's early, but given the composition of your coaching staff, the lack of coaching experience on the West Coast, do you anticipate considering current members of the Arizona football staff for positions, or an approach of considering West Coast-centric coaches for your staff?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as I mentioned a little earlier, there's 3 or 4 guys that I think are great coaches that have been with me for quite some time, and a couple of them have recruited out here. They recruited 2 of the best players in the state of Arizona. They recruited some really good players, both from West Virginia and Michigan, from California, and recruited Texas. So, and then the best coaches can recruit anywhere. But some of those guys and again, I don't know if they're coming for sure. They're in great situations right now. But there's a few of those guys. But I think there's some really, really good, as I mentioned, some really, really good coaches on this staff that can recruit. The 3 criteria for a coach is, can the guy recruit, can he teach and develop, and is he a good guy? And you got some of those, obviously, you got a lot of guys on the staff can do that. But certainly I don't want to try to mess around right now because Coach Kitchen's staff, they got a game to play and all that. But I want to have the opportunity to sit down and talk with some of those guys, and then there's another one. There's going to be a few more weeks before I hire the rest of them. But probably the guys that I've not worked with before will probably be guys that have experience recruiting in this region.
Coach Bob Baum from Associated Press. Larry Lage and Ralph Russo say you're a great guy to work with, so the pressure's on.
Oh, there it is.
Do you find this situation as you come into it anywhere similar to what it was at West Virginia as opposed to Michigan? And if that's a characterization, why would that be?
A little bit. I really haven't thought in those terms, the similarity between here and West Virginia. Because even West Virginia and here, and when I coached at Clemson, and even in Michigan, there are college communities that have great support. And so there's more similarities than differences. I guess one of the things that does appeal to me, and I don't mind saying this, is that at West Virginia, I thought some of our success was due to because we had a little chip on our shoulder that we felt we needed to prove ourselves. And, we approached that as coaches. We kind of nurtured that with the team that, hey, this is, we're going to prove ourselves, and we're going to have a chip on our shoulder, and we'll show the country that we can win championships and do all that. And I think hopefully we'll have that here a little bit. I think we need to have that, But it's not just the team. I'm not going to just tell the team. I got something to prove. I don't like it when somebody says, whether it's a coach or a player, you hear it sometimes, I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I do. Every day I do. And I always hope I have that. And I would expect our players and coaches to have the same attitude.
Coach Dave Cooney from KOLD, CBS. You had a chance to step out of coaching for a short while. What did you gain? What did you learn from that experience?
Well, I guess, and I'm not saying this just because y'all sitting here, all the media folks, but I gained a better perspective of what your job is about. You know, certainly how hard you work, but more than anything, I think I've gauged how I can make the media's job better. And I know there's a lot of different media, obviously print media, and TV and radio and all that, but I think from being in that aspect, it's helped me get an appreciation for it. You know, and I guess, you know, not just for me, but be able to explain to the players, you know, when those guys have a camera or a mic or a recorder in front of you, you know, instead of just, you know, trying to teach them what to say, teach them how to act and teach them how you can help them do their job better without giving all away the trade secrets and who's hurt and what plays you should be called to beat them and all that stuff. I guess get a better perspective for y'all, I say y'all, you know, because I do got a little bit of hillbilly accent, but also a way how they can help your job be easier.
Rich, it's Jack McGruder from FoxSportsArizona.com. Obviously, you haven't seen your personnel and don't know how your offense is going to, I suppose, work yet. But can you just talk about what you like about that offense and how it seems to attract athletes? And
Well, there's one misperception or several misperceptions about our offense. It's like when people say you don't use tight ends or you don't use fullbacks. You know, we use the best personnel we have or what we can recruit to. You know, the last year in Michigan, I think we used a tight end on the play over 75% of the time. You know, and we've evolved to that. I think it's ever evolving. 20 years ago, we started off, and it all started, it's a long story short, it all started when I was a head coach at Glenville State, a little small school. They got shut out the year before I took the job. They got shut out 7 times, got outscored 360 to 20. So it was a perfect job to take because the expectations were way down here. So I took the job. I think me and 2 other guys applied for it. The other 2 never coached. So they gave me the job, and I can remember and there was only 25 guys on the team when I took it, and I was the biggest guy on the team, so I knew we were in trouble. And then I thought to myself, well, if we can get 5 guys up front, 5 linemen, they can get run over slowly, I get a quarterback, put him in shotgun, and get rid of the football, we'll have a chance. So we studied the run and shoot. I had a quarterback that was about 5'10". I got 5 little chubby guys that get run over slowly, and it all took off. But I can remember the very first play, there was only 500 people in the stands, right? And I'm related to 490 of them, so it's a fairly crowd. And so we threw a pass and gained 13 yards. It was against Cumberland College in Kentucky. We threw a pass and gained 13 yards. I looked around, I got a standing ovation. I was on the headsets and I told the coaches, heck, I ain't never leaving. This is perfect. So I wound up staying 7 years, but you know, it was the principle behind it. I was a defensive coach in my few years before that. When I came to head coach, I went on offense. And I thought as a defensive coach, and Coach Kish can appreciate that, what's the hardest thing to defend? And I always thought it was the 2-minute drill. Whenever a team goes in a 2-minute drill before the end of the half or the end of the game, it looks like they go up and down the field. So if you're a fan, you're like, shoot, why don't they do that the whole game? Well, I thought, okay, let's go ahead and try that. So we did that approach. Let's run a 2-minute drill the whole game. And so over the years, 20 years, it's kind of evolved into some of the zone read and doing all that stuff. But that's when it started. And then, but now it's evolved to where we used to be all 4 wide. Now we use tight ends, we use fullbacks, we mix personnel. The rules favor, Coach Kish will tell you this, the rules favor offense. You can substitute, the defense doesn't have a lot of time to match your substitution and all that. So there's a lot of rules that favor offense, but there's no one set spread scheme. Our spread scheme may be different than somebody else's down the street and all that, but I think that's what makes college football so exciting is the variety. But we do like to play fast. I do think a huddle is the biggest waste of time in football. And what are they going to do? That's just me. You know, I told the guys, we're not going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya on the field. We'll do that in the locker room. We're on the field, we're going to play ball. So, play fast.